everybody, Montel here, and thanks so much for tuning in to this edition of Let's Be Blunt. And I'm so excited to have today's guest, who's an industry, pioneer. He's one of the guys who literally stepped up to the plate when no one else was thinking about doing this and turned this into one of the most successful, I think, cannabis organizations in the country today. He's the founder and CEO of Euflora recreational cannabis. He got his start in cannabis industry back in 2009 when he was awarded one of the first 5 cultivation licenses in Colorado. And since then, he's grown his business into a multi-state enterprise engaged in cultivation, retail, extraction, and branding. Guys, please welcome Mr. Pepe Breton to the show. Hey, buddy.
Hey, how are you, Montel? So good to see you. It's been a long time. How you been?
I've been great, man. Last time I saw you was at last year's 420 celebration in Denver.
I know. That was so much fun with you. We're hoping to have you again this year, but, due to the pandemic and COVID, we had to reschedule it for next year. So hopefully you can join us next year, please.
I'll try for sure. I'll tell you, that was really just a highlight. I don't know how many people were at that day. What, 50, 60,000?
A record from other years, and I think like 70, 80,000 people.
It was incredible for those of you who weren't able to be in Denver, Colorado last year on 420 Day. I mean, it was literally one of the most amazing events that I've ever been to, period, where you see about 70,000 people, just masses of people at the same time in a field. And though we even told them don't light up at the same moment, there's a cloud that just took over Denver, Colorado that day at exactly 420. So it was amazing. And the event was really well done, really nicely done.
No, you actually, I think you kind of made it. You set the tone. We had you do a speech, and I think that your speech was so motivational, and I think everybody just, seemed to click with you, and you just made it great. I actually have a picture from it.
Yeah, hey, that's great.
You got T.I. there. That's a snapshot of the event with 80,000 people.
I mean, just look at the masses, the throngs of people over your shoulder. That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, such a good skyline, and just an awesome job that the city of Denver lets us do and put together, right in their backyard. That's a great event. So yeah, hopefully we'll see you next year.
I mean, and it's a testament to you being able to pull off an event like that, even though, Denver is, of course, the first city to really go full recreational the way they did and implementing the cannabis initiatives that they've done. But you set yourself really apart from all the other providers in the region. And that's the reason why they allow you to put on an event like that.
Yeah, we actually took on the event. A few people were putting it together. It's been going on for like 10 years, and it just keeps growing and growing. I'll say the first time I went, it was like 2,000, 3,000 people, 10,000, 20,000. So every year it keeps getting bigger and bigger, and even people from out of state and even in the world. It's now turning to be a worldwide event that people went from, had a ton of people from Europe last year. But yeah, we've just been working really hard at it. And every year that we put it together, we try to make it safer and try to please the city, with different laws they have. And they incorporate every year they incorporate new laws just so it doesn't get out of control. And I think we've done a great job mitigating that and making the city feel safe.
Yeah, and the city should be proud of being able to host an event like this, and you do them proud. So, again, thank you for letting me participate. And anybody who's watching right now should make sure or tuned in to Let's Be Blunt. Make sure you set your sights on next year to be in Denver, Colorado on 420 Day for what will, and have no question, be the biggest 420 celebration in the world.
Yeah, and just remind everybody, it's a free event. You just literally have to show up and just join the celebration.
Absolutely. You have vendors and you have all kinds of stuff going on. It was really just a fabulous thing. You had T.I. there. It was amazing. I was really impressed. Well, let's get started. Let's back up a little bit because people don't know about you, Pepe, and I think they really should. Let's back up. Where are you from, and where did you grow up, and what led you to where you are today?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, actually, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, before I started this, if I would have ever saw myself where I am today, and I would have said, absolutely not, you're crazy. But to your first question, I am from Mexico City. I moved down here when I was 16. And I mainly moved down here just because I wanted to learn English and, just live here for a little bit and go through high school at least. And ended up doing that. Moved from Mexico City. Didn't speak any English. Moved down here, learned English my first year in high school. Um, Graduated from high school. Then I decided, okay, well, maybe let's go to college here. And then with an education from the U.S., I can go back to Mexico and have more opportunities. So I did that. Graduated from college with a marketing finance degree. And I always wanted to be my own business. So I actually, looked at different opportunities, such as, just something that was my own business that I could own. And
And you started off in corporate America, correct?
yeah, I started selling dental implants, and I was a stockbroker at some point. So that's where my finance degree kind of falls on. And yeah, I was in the 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And shortly after a year and a half, I just realized that that just wasn't really my gig. And I just had to figure something out to be my own boss.
And then what made you think cannabis, though?
I know that's a crazy thing because I'm not a user myself. I can sleep great. I don't have any, health issues or anything. So I'm not actually a user of cannabis. But actually, I started seeing and learning from a lot of people that had a lot of medicinal uses. And then back in 2010, with the Ogden memo came out, a few dispensaries starting opening up in Colorado, and it was just blowing all over the news. And I said at the time, like, hey, I had a $30,000 savings. I said, what can I do with this? And like I said, I never even smoked marijuana, seen marijuana. So the closest thing I knew is that if you can grow tomatoes, you can grow marijuana. So that's kind of how it got started. With that, I was like, okay, I want to be in the industry, but I just didn't even know how to do it.
And you started off in the industry not as a dispensary owner, but as a grower.
Correct. Yeah. Like I said, dispensaries weren't really allowed, but cultivation was. And at the time, it was the whole caregiver model. Um, so at the time, I said, okay, who do I know that can cultivate? And I had a friend that grew tomatoes in his multi-million dollar mansion with his parents on top of his roof. So I reached out to him and I said, hey, Bobby, how would you like to join me starting growing marijuana? And he said, well, I don't know if my parents are going to like that. So me and him started from $30,000 cultivation facility in Colorado. And at the time, there were not a lot of regulations. So we literally went to the city, started talking to them, and they started giving us some guidance. And after about a year, we literally built this greenhouse ourselves. And we're one of the first 5 fully permitted and inspected houses in Denver, Colorado.
And they limited the number of those licenses that they gave out, correct?
No, Denver was actually pretty open. And for the first 3, 4 years, it was kind of like, hey, just come in with an application, apply, get inspected, and you get your license. It wasn't until about 2015 that they put in a moratorium. But at the beginning, it was very open, which I think it's great. Like minorities like me and people with not a lot of resources that they were allowed to give out so many licenses, because now in new states like in Florida, for example, only a few lucky ones got those licenses, and you needed millions and millions of dollars. So I think Colorado grew so strong because everybody was able to participate, like minorities like me, with little money.
Gotcha. And so then you went from being a grower to having your own dispensary line.
Yeah, so started as a cultivator, And literally, we were like, "Oh my God, we're gonna get rich by our second harvest, right?" You do the math, and you're like, "Oh, 2 pounds per light, and we're gonna have 6 harvests a year at $4,000 a pound." And literally, we huge surprise. We had a 4 year learning curve because it's not as easy as people like to think that you just jump in the industry and you become rich overnight. It really didn't happen for 4 or 5 years that we started making money, learned the process of cultivating, and then once 2014 hit, that recreational marijuana was allowed, I said, "Hey, what a great spot if I can open up a dispensary on 16th Street Mall, which is one of the most visited locations in Colorado, and just I think 3.6 million visitors on this street. It's the main street in Denver." So I decided to open up a store, and that's how Euflora, the concept, was born.
And they dubbed you kind of like the Amazon or the Apple store of dispensaries, right? When you first opened.
Yeah, back in 2014. So I like to, take pride on this. We were one of the first stores that was named the Apple Store Cannabis by CBS News. They came down, and with my experience with marijuana, since I didn't have a lot, I kind of saw myself, okay, if you're going to go to a dispensary, you want to make it super user friendly and not intimidating like all the other dispensaries, right? Where it's a one on one with the bartender, and the bartender asks you, like, "Hey, what do you want? Indica or sativa?" And you're like, "What does that mean?" So I wanted to make it where it was an open space where people felt comfortable. And that's kind of where we ended up with, different tablets everywhere, and people can shop on their own pace. We have bartenders walking around, so if you have any specific questions, you can talk to them, or if you just want to shop on your own and not be intimidated, you can do that.
Yeah, well, let's give people if you can, a visualization of what your dispensary looks like, and I'll say it for you. It's like you have multiple. It's almost like walking into an Apple store. You walk in, there are multiple tables, several different iPads or that are out, and the iPads has basically your menu on it. Correct?
It's more specific to that. So yeah, you walk in, you for the most part in all of our stores, we try to make them very consistent. You have 4 tables. On each table, we have 5 strains of marijuana per, and then we have as display a iPad, and that iPad has the strain right next to it. So you can actually lift up the product, be able to pick up the jar, even smell it. And then on the iPad, you actually have the description of that specific strain. So it will give you their medicinal values. It will tell you all the THC levels, pictures. In some instances, we actually even have customer reviews where they said, "Hey, if you have problems sleeping, take this indica. If you want to go out for a hike, this was an amazing strain." So that's the flower part. And then as you walk around, we have the edible section, we have our drink section, we have our vaporizer section, concentrate section. So I will say, for someone that is just coming in and has never tried marijuana, this is the best way to come in and shop. So whenever you guys are in Denver or California, make sure you guys go to one of our stores, Euflora.
Yeah, I mean, it makes the experience a lot more, like you say, user friendly because you don't walk in the door and somebody immediately starts yelling at you. What do you want? What do you want? Come on here. You get to actually to shop at your own pace.
For new users out there, yeah, when you go to your typical store, it's like going to the bar, right? There's a bartender there. In this case, it's a bartender, and you make a line to talk to this bartender. So there's like 5 people behind you, and you just feel pressure because you're gonna want to see what's their options on flower, for example. And sometimes you have 20 strains, right? So by the time you're trying to ask all these questions, the bartender, you feel a little pressure by the bartender and the people behind you. Versus in a store, it's just more open layout. Like I said, shop at your own pace, and we'll always have bartenders if you have any specific questions.
And how tough was it for you to basically scale your business up from one store to now you have seven, correct? 7 locations?
Yeah, 7 locations. We opened up our Long Beach store in California probably about 6 months ago. Yeah, it was really hard because even, we started in Denver, Colorado, then Aurora, which is the third largest city in Colorado, opened it up. At this time, it was a point system. So whoever who scored the highest will get the licenses. So just when you go from one, even in the same state, from one city to another city, every city makes up their own rules and different regulations, even though you have state regulations. So every store, I have to say, is so different because there's different rules, different setbacks on zoning. So it's pretty hard, honestly, to go from one store to six store. But pretty much the way we were able to do it, I just been parlaying all the money that I've been making in the last 6, 7 years in the stores, realistically. And every month, every dollar we make, we put 80 cents back to the business, and we put it on cultivation, or we put it on manufacturing infused products, or into new stores. And right now, there's just so many things going on with in Colorado. They're going to start allowing doing deliveries. So that's another aspect now that we're going very heavy at, which will be delivery coming up soon.
I would think that during this COVID crisis, and I believe that Colorado made cannabis an essential service, did it not?
Yeah, yeah, we got very, very lucky to be one of the few industries that was allowed to stay open. And for people that don't know Colorado, it was kind of funny how it happened. The state says, hey, whatever the city allows you to do, we're okay. And for example, in Denver, Mayor Hancock, with you actually met at the 420 event. We have a few pictures of them. It was funny because I was actually watching the news at one of the stores, and he starts saying, okay, so these are the businesses that are allowed. And, he names all the business, pharmacies, hospitals. And then he says, and businesses that are not allowed are liquor stores and dispensaries. And literally, I'm at the store, and within 4 minutes, just lines and lines out the door of people that are like coming in because like, hey, we're not going to have dispensaries for, who knows. And literally 5 minutes after, the mayor twits and says, hey, never mind. We're going to keep liquor stores and dispensaries open. So, somebody called him right away and said, hey, just because you close it now, people are making lines of this. And at the time, of course, he wanted to keep, the social distance. So there was no social distance in liquor stores or dispensaries by people waiting. So that's pretty interesting how it happened. We were shut down for, virtually 5 minutes, and then he came back and reopened it because people were gone nuts without their liquor and marijuana.
Now, were you able to shift over to curbside pickup rather than in the store pickup, or how were you able to do it? You now can you do delivery now?
No, so you can only do medical delivery, but recreational will come live in 2021. But that's a great question, Montel. So yeah, they close down, then they open up, and then they said, okay, now that you're open up, we're gonna allow you to do curbside. But on the curbside, it was in the parking lot, and the state regulates that. They want every transaction to be under a camera. So when you're going to the parking lot, they're not seeing who you're giving it to. It could be a minor, or it could be fake ID, or like I said, a minor. So because of that, the state, after a few days, they come back and say, hey, never mind. Now we're going to let people go indoor. So people were placing the orders on the phone. People were placing the orders online, and then we're allowing them to come into the store. But we're only allowing 5 people at a time. So it was literally change after change every other day. But at least the state and the cities were pretty friendly with the industry, which was a great thing. And I think it's great because it gives us validity, right? Where
It also gives you a little flexibility.
Yeah.
So now you can't deliver curbside. They still have to come inside to do the pickup so that they're seen by camera.
Correct. Yeah, they only did the curbside in the parking lot for a few days, and then they switched to in store.
Got ya. Got ya. And now, have you seen, and well, since you haven't, you're not doing delivery, have you seen your sales go up or go down during this pandemic?
That's a great question, and we have a few locations that are very tourist oriented, right? So, for example, we have a store in Aspen. In Aspen, they closed down the city completely, so nothing was able to stay open. We were able to stay open, but our sales went down 90%. Then we have another touristy location that is on 16th Street Mall, our first store, and that went down. To give you an idea on numbers, we used to do about $35,000 a day, and it went down to $2,500 a day. So those stores took a hit, and then the other stores that we have that are in neighborhoods, those actually they're really good. But I think overall as a company, we stay flat, which we're very lucky to that we're able to stay open unlike other businesses.
Wow. Well, it's been this interesting discussion I've had with several people from multiple different states. The fact that it seems that right now during the pandemic and the lockdown, more people have been opting to go to a dispensary, especially in adult use states, than go to a liquor store. Have you seen any trend like that, or just flat?
No, it actually, like I said, in the stores that we have loyal customers that come in every day, those stores have been up, 10, 15, 20% compared to that. And yeah, even with close friends, they said, hey, now that I've tried marijuana, I actually don't even drink anymore. So yeah, I think the, big liquor companies are starting to notice that marijuana is taking a little bit of share from their business.
Absolutely. And then, do you think? I mean, I feel pretty strongly that this trend is going to continue. I think there are more and more people who, number one, realize that they didn't want the significant weight gain that they were finding by sitting at home drinking two, three, four, 5 beers a day and banging down two, three, four, 5 shots a day. So they're starting to say, I don't put on the weight. The munchie thing isn't real. I don't put on the weight that I thought I was going to put on with cannabis. And you know what? I don't feel as groggy in the morning the next day with cannabis. So do you think this trend is going to continue?
Yeah, no, you'll be amazed, Montel. Just like you said, the druggy side of it. We have so many customers that come in, and not just with liquor, even pharmaceuticals. We have people that said, "Hey, I used to do Lunesta or Ambien in order to go to sleep, and now I come in and I buy an indica gummy and just do half of it." Right before I want to go to sleep, and they're like, I sleep like a baby, wake up feeling amazing. And when you look at, the beneficials of, on your body, it's a lot healthier to do marijuana than a pharmaceutical. And then when you look at pricing too, there's people that are like, hey, I'm spending $18 for, 2 weeks. And they're like, with Ambien and Lunesta, they're like, it's way more expensive than the gummies. And
Yeah, if I'm buying a fifth of buying a bottle of wine every day, that's I'm drinking rock guts. People probably spending 20, $25 a day on wine.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, there's people that, have not just one bottle, have two bottles a day, right?
Right.
So yeah, well, essentially now, marijuana is the one thing that the price keeps going lower. I don't know any other uh, products that keep the price keeps going lower. So, we're in the right path, I think.
Well, now Colorado and California are considered, the most saturated markets there are right now in this industry. And how tough is it for you to maintain your market share in an industry that is so saturated?
I think we've been doing it for so long, and the nice part about Colorado is that they put in a moratorium now, so there's not any new stores opening up. So Colorado, we're pretty lucky now. We're just in a plateau per se, but people know, what brands they like, what stores they want to go to. So yeah, even though it's very competitive, I think it's so established now that our numbers have been pretty flat, and we're just happy with that. With all the six stores we have, California is totally a different animal. I joined California about a year ago, about one of the 32 licenses that they give out in Long Beach, and I didn't win it. I went and bought it on the secondary market. Spent like $4 million on this one license. And my hope at the time, when I looked at it from a business perspective, I said, okay, once the state and the cities realize all the money that they're going to be making from taxes and licensing fees, et cetera, I think they're going to go and try to kill the black market. That really hasn't happened. California has a large presence of, I call it black market and the gray market. But it makes it very competitive when you're a legal store in California, because you have all this home delivery services, you have all this caregiver systems, right? So California is very competitive. If I had to go maybe back a year ago, I wouldn't have gone into California and maybe expand in Colorado or other new markets.
Right. And what is your idea? I mean, now, right now you're just in Colorado, California. You're planning on expanding into any other states?
Yeah, we're opening up 3 stores in Oklahoma, probably towards the end of the year. Due to COVID, we kind of paused everything, and the cities are taking longer to get you permits and get inspections going. We have a license in Massachusetts for cultivation and manufacturing, and we're looking at getting 2 to 3 retail stores in Massachusetts. And like me and you always talk, I'm trying to get a Florida license, because I believe the next big market will be Florida.
So I'm still trying to help you out down here if you want. Look, I got to do a little bill paying myself, so I got to take a little break for a second. Let me take a break, and then we'll be back right after this to continue our conversation. And we're talking today on Let's Be Blunt with Mr. Pepe Breton, who is the founder and CEO of Euflora in Colorado, California, now Massachusetts, and soon to be Florida. Hopefully, we'll be back and continue that conversation. Thanks so much for tuning in today to Let's Be Blunt with Montel. Thanks so much for joining us today. You're tuned in to Let's Be Blunt with Montel, and today's guest is the founder and CEO of Euflora Recreational Cannabis out of Colorado. He got his start in the cannabis industry back in 2009 when he was awarded one of the very first of 5 cultivation licenses in Colorado. Pepe Breton, thank you so much for being here with us. Breton, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Thanks again for having me, Montel.
Absolutely. Now, sir, let's talk a little bit just in general, but we've seen things go up and things go down because of COVID, and we don't know where this is all going to shake itself out. What would your predictions be over the next year?
I think we got very lucky that we were considered essential business. So that's a great thing, right? I couldn't imagine if for some reason we got shut down, that would have just opened up a black market and kill, more and more jobs than it has already killed. So I feel very happy where we stand. I think now from the finance side of it, I was looking to expand to, Florida, for example, and needed a lot of money. So just with COVID, that's just going to stop investment, I think. And it's just going to slow down bigger groups that are going to come in with money, right? Because now as an investor, I think people look at it and they want to go to safer investments than marijuana. So it's going to slow us down a little bit, but I think in the grand scheme, we got very lucky to be considered essential business.
And you think the industry is going to bounce back in the next year or so, correct?
Yes. Yeah. I think give about a year or two, and maybe it's a good thing because things were starting to explode, and you start seeing all this MSOs and public companies that had a ton of money and crazy valuations. So I think it was a good stop just for people to come back to reality and really take a look at what true valuations are and where the industry needs to go.
Well then, okay. Now, what's next for you, Flora, and for Pepe?
Oh my God, we're so busy. So many things going on. Every market is different. Colorado, we're looking at delivery. They just starting allowing public consumption lounges. So we have a great space on 16th Street Mall that we're looking at opening up. So that could be, one of the first lounges in the city of Denver, and exactly on 16th Street Mall. So they have delivery there. In California, we're doing our edible brand. In Oklahoma, we're trying to open up stores, do an edible brand. Massachusetts. As far as the whole company, we're in between raising money. We've got a lot of offers on the table from public companies to buy us out or go public. So it's very exciting. We got lots going on and lots of moving parts. It'll be interesting to see what happens next year.
So Pepe, so what's going on in your personal life, my friend?
Oh, my beautiful daughter, which you met, Vasa, she's doing great. Kids grow like crazy. I had the pleasure of meeting your kids. Amazing kids, by the way. Uh, so yeah, personal life, just trying to take care of my daughter and expand the business, and just trying to be like you one day.
Ah, and I'm trying to be like you one day. Well, I mean, we've been working on several different new initiatives, and of course, Let's Be Blunt is out there, and we're still moving that forward as best we can. And I'm looking at trying to figure out though what we need to do to really boost this industry. I think one of the biggest issues that we've been having, I think, in the industry at all is education, education, education. Though we've done such a great job at educating from B2B standpoint, I don't think we're still doing a good job educating B2C, the consumer, and giving the consumer the right information they need to make, the right judgments and to actually navigate the space. What do you think? You got any points of view on what we can do to make
No,
that?
I mean, I think that's what I love what you're doing, right? Because you know so much. I mean, I've talked to you, many, many times, and every time I see you as a mentor, and you just know so much about different topics and marijuana specifically. And every time we talk about it, you want to be an advocate and you want to educate people. So we're truly relying on people like you to really help us out and get the message across all the benefits of this marijuana plan, and not only physical for people, but just for the states, and raising taxes and all the money that it creates, and the legitimacy of this business, and how opening up one store, it helps out building jobs. You hire contractors, you buy insurance, and there are just so many attributes of this industry that people need to know, right? As long as along with the medicinal values that you've been advocating for.
Great. Well, look, sir, if anybody want to get any more information about Euflora, where do they go? How can I get more information?
So our website, euflorausa.com. And please check out our stores. In Colorado, we have 6 stores, and California, Long Beach, and we're getting ready to open up one in Palm Springs, Oklahoma to come, and check us out in Massachusetts, maybe late next year.
Well, I will testify myself. I think that storage you have in Colorado, the ones that I've been to, and I've also visited, your production facility, and think that you guys are really working at some of the highest standards in the business. So you are a definite trend setter there, Pepe, and I hope you wish you more success. And I hope anybody's been tuned in, you understand if you go to Colorado, you know where to drop by. You drop by Euflora, and I guarantee you'll be well treated and you'll love your experience. You make sure you tune into the next Let's Be Blunt with Montel.